Oh boy, baby, I had no idea that this would be how we finish off the afternoon segment of today's show. I thought we were going to talk about Brock Boeser. We were going to go over Ian McIntyre and the article that was posted about Boeser, about how he wants to remain a Canuck and how he's frustrated that Patty Alvin and Jimmy Rutherford have not gone out there and given him an offer that he is okay with. That's an entire other can of worms. But this video, oh boy, instead of going over Brock Boeser by himself, we are going over Brock Boeser in the context of a 3-team trade. This show is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Go out there and check out the first link in the description to save some money on your VPN, get some free months, and support this YouTube channel in the process. Now, I said that we would have initially been looking at a Sportsnet interview by Ian McIntyre in regards to Brock Boeser, and that's not necessarily going to change. We are still going over onto sportsnet.ca, but instead of taking a look at IMAC's piece, we are going over what Ryan Dixon wrote about earlier this afternoon. This seems to have been an article published just a few minutes ago, actually, but here it is. Mikko Rantanen trade destinations. Could the Canucks enter the mega sweepstakes? This article will be linked in the description, as is all of the written material that we usually go over on this channel, but we are, once again, like we did yesterday, talking about Carolina superstar Mikko Rantanen and the idea as to whether or not the Vancouver Canucks could get involved and trade for this guy. Yesterday, it was in a loose, flowing conversation about Pettersson for Rantanen. But this time around, oh boy, we're going over an entirely new can of worms. So let's scroll down into Ryan Dixon's piece and read what exactly it is he proposes in this 3-team trade. Now, it's actually one of 2 3-team trades. Yeah, that's right. Ryan Dixon went out there onto sportsnet.ca and published 2 hypothetical 3-team trade ideas between the Canucks and Mikko Rantanen, Carolina getting involved there too. But I wanted to talk about the second one because this one is a lot more chaotic. It's a bigger slobber knocker of a deal. This is what Ryan Dixon proposes. The Carolina Hurricanes receive Brock Boeser with 50% salary retained and Brock Nelson with 50% salary retained. The Vancouver Canucks receive Noah Dobson and Mikko Rantanen, and the Islanders receive Elias Pettersson and Tom Willander. Now, I decided to go all maximum chaos here because the first 3-team trade proposal is actually not that bad. In fact, I think the first one actually is pretty good for the Vancouver Canucks. But this trade right here, oh boy. Oh boy. Let's go by this team by team, just to acknowledge what each of these teams would be giving up. Vancouver would be receiving Noah Dobson and Rantanen for Boeser, Pettersson, and Willander. Carolina would be receiving Boeser and Nelson at 50% retained for Rantanen. And the Islanders would be receiving Pettersson and Willander for Dobson. Something tells me that the Vancouver Canucks are on the losing side of this trade, even though they get themselves Dobson and Rantanen. In particular, I think the Tom Willander addition is a really big cutthroat to a jugular vein type of move in the context of this trade. I think he is such a valuable piece as a prospect, and I get that you could say, oh, but it's for future, right? It's the future value that Tom Willander brings. That's why he's got value right now. Honestly, I don't even know if it's too future. I think Tom Willander could be a very capable and legitimate middle pair defenseman for the Vancouver Canucks soon. Like, within the next calendar year, to be honest. He's that good with the Boston University Terriers, and his inclusion in a trade like this, while it would technically not really mean much when you think about the players in, players out, because you get rid of Willander, you add Noah Dobson. Okay, your defense doesn't necessarily change. I do think it's a bit much to add on top of Boeser and Pettersson being sent away, even though Vancouver would hypothetically get Mikko Rantanen in this deal. Let's read what Ryan Dixon has to say about this trade proposal. The Carolina Hurricanes always have trouble scoring in the playoffs. Under this scenario, they'd be getting 2 players who can help with that, with significant salary retention. Again, Carolina would still possess all of its own picks to put in play elsewhere. It also seems like there's a decent chance they could find a mutually beneficial way to keep one of Nelson or Boeser for a few more seasons. Plus, the Brox is a social media breakout just waiting to happen. By acquiring Dobson, who is hurt right now, during what's been a down year, Vancouver would be fully transforming its identity from a short time ago as a team that's weak on the back end to a club that suddenly has Quinn Hughes, Phil Hronek, Marcus Petey, and Dobson slotted perfectly for both the left and the right in its top 4. You could envision a scenario where Hughes wins the Norris in a season where Dobson also finishes 6th in voting. The Canucks would have to set about finding center help immediately, but no move is going to solve every problem at once. Dobson, a pending RFA, is in line for a big new deal, but there's a number out there that makes him more than happy without coming close to Pettersson's $11.6 million AAV. Take some of the savings and go after UFA Sam Bennett in the summer? And again, this is kind of the same thing that we had spoken about yesterday. If you trade away Elias Pettersson, at some point you're going to have to get another center. Like, you cannot continue to play with Filipino as your number 1. Mikko Rantanen can play center, so that's a total wild card, but it's not guaranteed. If you're able to get a center upgrade over Filipino, maybe not to the same ceiling as Pettersson, but then again, Pettersson hasn't been anywhere near his ceiling in about a year. If you're getting an upgrade on center, then Pettersson becomes a little bit more expendable. If you're getting an upgrade on the wing, then maybe Boeser becomes expendable. Same thing you could say on defense with Tom Willander. Which is why I do like the idea of Vancouver getting both Dobson and Rantanen, but trading away 3 players for 2 doesn't really feel all too right, in my opinion. Maybe nowadays, especially since Willander is so close to becoming an impact NHL player already. I feel like if Vancouver just waited a little bit for Tom Willander to come over from BU, they might be getting exactly what they need from that, and he'll be a lot cheaper than what Noah Dobson is going to get when he resigns. Now, of course, that's not to diminish Noah Dobson. I mean, he was a 70-point guy, top right-handed defenseman. If he plays with Hughes, then that is the best pairing in the league. So I really like that idea, but the last time we had spoken about Pettersson and Dobson, it was in some sort of a one-for-one trade video conversation, not including Brock and not including Tom Willander. So even though Rantanen is also included in part of this deal, I do kind of wonder what those implications would be. The Canucks do have cap space, but they haven't re-signed Boeser. They've got PD on for 11.6. If they trade these guys away, then all of a sudden it's like, okay, you have extra dollars to free up and use on guys. If you wanted to give 11.6 or 12 or 13 to Mikko Rantanen, and you wanted to give some money to Dobson too, maybe it's not all too impossible. Long term, of course, this works, but you still need to get that center in there to make sure Rantanen has some guys to play with and to feed the puck over to. Let's continue into the article and read what the Dixon conclusion here is. Like the Canucks, the New York Islanders will be altering their DNA. How much longer can this be an organization defined by never scoring enough? Dating back to the 21-22 season, the Islanders are 26th in goals per game. If they're all hesitant to spend on Dobson, give the money to Pettersson, reunite him with Horvat, and bet on him flourishing while playing in a much quieter market. It's been said the Islanders are the 9th team in the 9-team sports town. That might just be what the doctor ordered for Pettersson after being the first thing everyone talks about in Vancouver. Moving a young D-man like Dobson would trigger a huge gulp, but Willander, who also happens to be a righty, is a crafty blue liner who is likely bound for pro hockey after finishing up his sophomore season at the Boston University Terriers system this season. He could be a decade-long fixture on your second pair. Seem nuts? Well, a very short time ago, so would the idea that we'd even be talking about Mikko Rantanen playing for 3 different squads this season. The Islanders getting Pettersson and Willander in exchange for Brock Nelson and Dobson is so interesting, because I'm thinking about it like, hey, if you were to do that trade by itself, take out Carolina, take out the Mikko Rantanen thing, what if Vancouver just kept Brock Boeser and then they traded Pettersson and Willander for Nelson and Dobson? I think that trade kind of does what Vancouver wants too, right? They get center help. Sure, having Nelson and Hedl as your 1-2 on center is not as good as Miller-Pettersson, but there's goal scoring there in Nelson, and you're getting a good defenseman in Dobson. You're not trading away an odd number of assets compared to what you're getting back, so I don't know, that's just maybe some food for thought here. I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. What do you think about this entire 3-team trade discussion? Do you think it's worth talking about? Do you think it's worth discussing? Do you think it's realistic? Let me know in the comments, how do you feel? I hope you enjoyed this video. 99. We're going to watch the Canucks and the Kings later today, so stay tuned to the show for our post-game. And bye.